In section 7.3, we're going to look at how to simplify radicals. So, what we're going to look at is what if we are multiplying two of the same type of root? Meaning I'm multiplying, let's say, a square root times another square root. In this case, we're saying it's some just nth root, just that they're the same root. Well, if you're multiplying, you can combine the two roots as one big root and just multiply whatever was on the inside, but keep the same type of root. So what does that mean? That means if I have a square root of 6 times a square root of 6, because they're the same type of root, they're both square roots. When I multiply them, I will just get another square root, but I can bring the 6 times 6 on the inside of just one big square root, which will give me the square root of 6 times 6, which is the square root of 36, which is just 6. So what we had here for this problem is two identical square roots multiplied together, just canceled one another out, and gave us the 6 underneath. This does make sense because if you're multiplying two square roots together, you're actually squaring something. Well, squaring and square rooting cancel one another out, which would leave you with what was underneath, the 6, which is what we just got. Here's another one, though, that's got two different roots. What if I have the square root of 18 times the square root of 2? It equals the square root of 36. Because 18 times 2 is 36. Well, the square root of 36, we already said, is 6. So we're getting 6, but just a different way. Because we had two square roots that, when combined together, still gave you a square root of 36. Here's another one. Let's look at C. What about if we have the square root of 10 times the square root of 3? Well, I can bring them together as one big square root of 3 times 10, which is the square root of 30. Now I can't take the square root of 30, so I'm done. My final answer is the square root of 30. Here's another one, the square root of 7 times the square root of 5xt. They're both square roots, so I can bring them under one big square root. Now the only two things I can multiply that are the same type of things is the 7 and the 5, which is 35. The x and t will just get carried over. So we've got the square root of 35xt. And because we can't take the square root of 35, it's stuck inside of that square root. Now, this little trick doesn't just work for square roots. It works for cube roots, fourth roots, anything, as long as the type of root matches. So I have a cube root and a cube root. So I can multiply them, and I'll get another big cube root. The 9 and the 4 multiplied together gives you a 36, and we have that x and that y. Now be careful, this is a cube root. I cannot take the cube root of 36, so it will stay just like this, the cube root of 36xy. Let's look at problem F. On problem F, we have, a fourth root and another fourth root. So when we multiply those two fourth roots together, I'll still have a fourth root of, 3 times 6 is 18. We've got a y squared times a y. Well, that's two y's here added to one y, and the other one will give me a y cubed. I cannot take the fourth root of 18, and I can't take the fourth root of y cubed, so we are done.